Hi, everyone. I'm Helen Cole, and I am the founder of the Gene Collective and a sister website called Women Who Lead. We're doing a series of interviews with women leaders, and today's interview is with Heather Jackson, a former mayor of the city of St. Thomas. I think that's pretty cool because that's where my political career was as a counselor in St. Thomas. So Heather, welcome, and I'm so thrilled to meet you. Can we start with this question? What inspired you to pursue a career in public service? And also, tell us a little about yourself. Maybe start with that and then tell us what inspired you.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Helen. It's a real pleasure to be here and be able to share some knowledge, maybe some insights for others as well. So for those that don't know me, I am born and raised here in Elgin County in St. Thomas. My family roots run deep here in Elgin County, and I'm quite fond of St. Thomas and all of Elgin County. To say the least. So I have always been involved in my community. My grandparents were longtime volunteers in the community as well. And I think my first opportunity was at the age of 9 when I went with them to Valley View Home and worked in the tuck shop with them for the afternoon. And I was hooked. I was hooked on being a part of our community. And from there, it just continued to grow until 2003, when there was a lot of hubbub in the community about some things happening and where a new arena should be built. And that's how I got involved. I was very concerned that our downtown is already seriously declining in certain areas, as were many downtowns across the country even. And knew that that's the heart of our community. And so I went out to a few rallies and a couple of council meetings. And I didn't like some of the things that I saw happening at council. And I said, well, I can't sit on the sidelines and complain. My grandfather actually asked me that very specific question and said, what are you going to do about this? You can't just complain. And he was right. And he was a big inspiration in my life. And one of the reasons that I said, all right, I'm in. And at the last minute for that election, municipal election in 2003, I put my name in, and along with 22 other people, ran for one of the 7 seats at the table.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I didn't know what I was doing.
You know what I love about that is it's so easy to complain, but you didn't just complain. You got in there, and so that you could have a voice at the table. And that's what we're all about. Yeah. It is important. It is important. By the way, just as an aside, I was in St. Thomas this past weekend, and I am so impressed. It looks like a progressive, vibrant community. I can say no more. I was so impressed. So I hope you'll be back on council at some point, because obviously your voice was important and you did make a difference. So this will all have a bit of an orientation toward politics because of your experience. So what would you suggest are the skills and talents needed by a candidate, and what should they be learning and developing before running in an election?
Yeah, it's a really good thing to sit down and to think about why you were doing this and why you're considering running for municipal office, and understanding what that means. Do your research. Find out what it means. It's not just one meeting a week, going to council and making decisions. It is a lot more. It is, when I was a counselor, I had a lot of committee work, and that really progressed into kind of being a part-time job on top of everything else I had going on. And then, of course, when I ran for mayor, I knew that it was going to be a full-time thing. If I was going to do it, I had to put myself into it and make sure that that I had done that research up front. So that's a huge part. It's understanding why you want to do it and understanding the role itself. Speak to those that are doing it. Go and ask somebody who's done that role as a member of council or is currently holding that position, and talk to them honestly about why you really want to do this and how you think you can make a difference. I think that's the best advice I can give folks is to ask questions and to listen to the answers and be really thoughtful about why you want to do it.
That's probably a perfect lead in to the workshops that I'm going to be offering this fall after our women's conference. Now, I just realized that I want to keep this evergreen. So when I'm talking about stuff that's current, by the time they're listening, it might be done. But I am offering a series of workshops that start with basically, what is your why? And are you a best fit for being on municipal council? Then goes into what is your purpose? What is your why? And then into some specifics around campaign planning. So thanks for giving me that lead in. So Heather, if you could, and this would be helpful for me as well as others who will be listening, if you could design a candidate support program for yourself, what would it look like?
Yeah, it's really important that you have people around you that you trust, that you can talk to honestly about issues that you're facing, especially as a woman member of council. You hear a lot about the words the old boys club, and it does still exist in our world today in these days and times that you still see those kind of actions happening and people getting together, they will have a beer and have a discussion. And that's not always what we want to do as women. We want to sit down, make those decisions, have those discussions, and then be able to put the plan into action. So we need to have folks around us that we trust, that support us, and that definitely can let you vent, but also offer that support. They are there, they understand what you're going through. You have to have those folks around you. If you don't have that support system and folks to talk to at the end of the day, it's really tough. And I couldn't imagine ever going into politics without having that. I also advise that a boxing bag in the basement and a pair of boxing gloves has been really helpful. I took up kickboxing when I first became mayor, just as a physical activity, but it is something that I enjoy immensely still to this day, and I highly recommend a great way to get those things out of your head and while you're thinking about what happened that day and decisions you have to make.
That's great advice. Let you get a bit of that frustration out. In the days when I was on council, we didn't have social media, and that in retrospect helped a lot, but I did get phone calls, and some of those were not the nicest phone calls. So there might have been days when I could have used a punching bag or learned kickboxing or something. So that's really great that you did that. Now, you talked a lot about what's needed when you're mounting a campaign. And one of the things that keeps coming through is having people around you that you trust. So other than that, what's one piece of advice that you would give to a woman who's considering running?
So it's a tough one for one piece of advice. I would say just always know what your intent is. Just always remind yourself that your purpose, your why are you doing this? And it makes every day worthwhile. I am very fortunate to have 10 amazing nieces and nephews that have grown up in this community with me in either the council seat or in the mayor's seat. And they've grown up knowing that it's what you do, you give back to your community, and you know, that they're part of my why. They are a big part of my why. And I remind myself every day that I'm doing this for them and for that generation, so that our community can continue to thrive and that they'll be here and raise their families here.
Well, certainly I'm seeing a huge difference in St. Thomas. And so I think the campaign that you mounted and what you've done during the years you were on council is certainly showing. And that comes back to your why and your purpose. And you're doing this not only for you, but for your family and for the people in the community. And I think that's your purpose. So I shared with you before we started recording that the Jean Collective is in memory of Jean McDougall, who was my mentor and much loved friend, and she became my mom. She formed a lot of my decisions. So I'd like to ask you, who would be that one woman in your life that inspired and motivated you?
Definitely my grandma Jackson. She was a woman. She was almost 100 when she passed on, and I think of everything she went through in her lifetime. And whenever we had a tough decision at council or something that was going on and I wasn't sure of, I knew I could always have a chat with her and just be able to think things through. And she would listen and, you know, ask one or two questions, and really they were the right questions. She always knew what to ask. She always knew what to say. And I would have to say she was, you know, one of my biggest supporters. My mom is right there as well. And I have sisters, all of that. I'm surrounded by incredible and strong women. But I know that my grandmother was always in my corner no matter what. And always there, like I said, with the right words and the right questions, and the support that I always seem to need at the right time.
Aren't we so lucky that in your case, you had a number of women and I had Jean. We're so fortunate. And I'm hoping that through the Jean Collective, we can be that support to women who need it. What's the one thing in your life that you're happy you did?
I look back and I definitely think it's running for mayor. It was about the time. I wasn't sure at first. I didn't like the current mayor's kind of ideas for the future. I thought they weren't long-term enough, and we weren't thinking far enough out as a council. And you know, it changed my life being mayor of the city of St. Thomas when I was, you know, I wasn't that old, and to be mayor of your hometown at any point, the place that you grew up in, the place that you love, that you don't want to ever move from, and to have that, you know, it certainly changed my life forever. And it is one of the biggest decisions I have ever made in my life, and I'm so glad that I did.
That, I think that shows, and thank you for that. Yes, it does sound as if that was the best decision, and possibly there's many more to come. So what legacy do you hope you can leave as a leader? And you're young. I don't know how old you are, but I know you're young. So maybe it's too early, but what's your thoughts right now? What is the legacy you would like to leave?
So one of the most important things for me is being a collaborative leader, and to make decisions in the best interest of the community with all those involved at the table. I am certainly not an expert in a lot of things, and we cannot make those decisions for the community without having the lived experience at the table, no matter what the topic is that we're discussing. And I hope that that is something that moves forward, that we work better together We listen to each other. We look to other communities to help solve our own problems. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. And for me, having that collaborative style and that approach and going out and seeing that happen in other aspects of the community outside of the municipal table and seeing that at other community groups and organizations, it's heartwarming to know that I wasn't the only one who thought it was a good idea to listen and to listen carefully and to invite those voices to the table. When I think about actual physical things in the community that's a legacy, I'd like to think the downtown revitalization is something that happened because I continued to push. It was really important to me when I first got on council that we do something, we continue to put plans forward, and even to this day, we're seeing those reconstruction plans that we started many years ago still continuing downtown. And the pattern of revitalizing our downtown continues, and it's something that I'm proud of. And the many changes in our community that happened over my tenure as mayor, I know wouldn't have happened if we didn't have that spark in our community in the downtown, and to be able to revitalize that. So a couple of different ways, I guess, of looking at legacy. That those would be my top two things.
So it reminded me as I was listening that St. Thomas has one of the longest downtown streets anywhere, which has always been such a huge challenge in terms of revitalization. So I've watched as it's progressed through town, first with doing the downtown streets and sewers, et cetera, in pieces, and then just progressing from one point to another. And I'm positive that when that's done, you're going to see even more revitalization than you already have. So you and your council at the time certainly led the way in that. While you were talking, I also thought of a question I should have asked. What leadership qualities would you say are important for women who are running in local government?
I think as I find myself, that collaborative style, I think, is so important no matter how you embrace it. But listening to the community, you have to listen. Once we make a decision, it's okay to change your mind on something if things and new information is presented. So it's being open-minded, it's being open to those suggestions coming forward, and it's knowing how to then turn that into action and to see things actually get done and accomplished, whatever the portfolio is that you're passionate about. And I can't stress enough that listening and really letting people tell their story to you, so that you can see how they need help and why they come to you. Being able to pull all of that together and to find a way forward is a true leadership style that I think we embrace as women. We want to see things get done.
So how do you moderate that with, as women, we're conditioned almost from birth, I think, to want to please people, to make friends. And sometimes you have to make difficult decisions, especially as a politician. How do you moderate being conciliatory, listening to everyone, and then making that decision, even though it may be difficult?
Yeah, and you're right. We're faced with making those tough choices every single day as a municipal politician. It's part of the reason that you're there. It's making those tough choices. And I feel if you've taken the time and you've listened and you have all of the information, you've done your homework, you take all of that away, you find a way to evaluate that on your level and make a decision. And you have made that, knowing that you've made that decision based on the information. And sometimes making the tough decisions and learning to say no and keep it as a no sometimes is tough, but it's hard to do, but you have to learn to do that piece as well. But you can say no and still be nice to people. We don't have to be mean. I think it's remembering we're all people, and I'm the same person that I am. I live in this community. I pay taxes. It's the same thing. And the issue that is affecting my neighbor or someone down the street or someone on the other side of the city could be impacting me as well. And, you know, when you make those tough decisions, you're making them for everyone, and trying to put the reasoning there that makes the best sense.
So I also thought of another one. Perhaps there's a woman who's interested in being more involved in their community, perhaps a leader in some way, but not necessarily running for council. How would you suggest they start? How could they begin?
So we have an amazing abundance of community organizations as well as volunteer organizations, and a lot of the businesses and nonprofits in the community that have incredible leadership. You know, they're looking for people to be at their side, to volunteer, to learn those. So reach out, whatever your interest is. Don't be afraid to send an email, to make a phone call, and to ask, how can I get involved? How can I find out more? And how can I do what you're doing? And, you know, I think that's one of our biggest holdbacks is being afraid to ask the question. So, and it's tough. It's tough. It's, you know, we all have days where we're not, you know, as confident as we may be the next day. But take a deep breath and remind yourself that it's something you're passionate about and you want to learn more and you want to be involved, and make the leap and ask the questions. Reaching out to those doing things in the community is the best way to find out how to get involved and how they got involved, and follow through. Yeah.
And it's a great learning exercise as well. I know that many years ago, I started with Home and School and progressed from there and was a Beaver leader. And although I didn't know it at the time, I was learning decision-making skills and how to lead. And so that is such a great way for women to start. And who knows, you might decide to run for local government at some point. So Heather, this has just been a wonderful interview, and I thank you for taking the time. And I'm going to leave you with one last question. I'd like you to finish this statement. What the world needs now is
Kindness and compassion.
so true, isn't it? Yes. Well, Heather, I thank you so much for this time with you, and I wish you all the best in the future. I didn't ask what your future might entail because we'll learn as time goes on, but I hope that you continue to be involved in St. Thomas and Elgin County. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Helen.